everyone. Welcome. So I am a member of the Blind Eye movement, and there are several members behind the scenes that, run the Blind Eye page and things like that. But we are also all individuals. So we're all gonna have like individual thoughts. We try to allow ourselves to just be individuals and be individual victims and heal in our own ways. But also be a team and help expose bad people and help expose things that happen in churches. So all that to say is that I don't want to speak for other people. So yes, I'm a part of the Blind Eye movement, but I'm also my own person, and I don't want to put words in other victims' mouths if they don't feel the same way that I do, or if they don't have like the same approach or the same coping skills or the same outlook on life or on church or on God or whatever. So like I'm just saying, like, we're a team, but yet we are all individuals. And so that includes all of you, whoever's watching this. Like, you might want to join our efforts in Blind Eye and help expose, abuse in churches and things like that. But you're also an individual, and you also will heal at your own pace. You'll have your own thoughts and your own opinions on what's best for you. And I think that's the healthiest thing we can do, because with the Blind Eye movement, we don't want to become a cult ourselves and be like, you better heal this way and you better feel this way and you better think like this, because that's not what we want to do. And if there was ever a time that we were acting like that under certain people's ruling, we apologize, because that is not what we're about, and we don't believe in that perspective of like cult-like behavior. That's not what we're about. So all that to say is that I have an individual opinion on some of the things that I've been hearing that pastors are saying. And all the other victims that listen to this will also have their own opinions. So I'm just speaking for myself, and everyone else that has an opinion, like, feel free to share, feel free to comment on this video, feel free to comment on the videos that you actually see that are coming out lately. Basically, the Let Us Pray Ministry of Scandals came out during the Thanksgiving weekend, and then some pastors actually started preaching some sermons after that and addressing that, because as a church, if you kind of get accused of something, I feel like the pastors are gonna have to try to do some damage control and be like, don't leave, all of you members, because like we have something to protect and we have like an empire to save, and like we don't want to be exposed and we don't want to be like accused of being like the bad guys. Okay. So forgive me if this is like very scatterbrained. I just happened to be alone and I wanted to hop on and make this video, but I didn't have like a bunch of notes prepared or like bullet points or anything like that. However, I do have a video pulled up that, so you won't be able to hear it in here. I don't know if I can attach it like on my video. I'm not that good at it, and sorry if I'm shaking my video, but basically, I just wanted to let you know like my opinions on this dude's little preaching sermon thing. Okay. So it is Union Baptist Temple in Union Baptist Temple. I was confused with the Union and then the Union. So it's called Union Baptist Temple in Union, Missouri. Sorry, I was going to say Massachusetts. Duh. Union, Missouri. Okay, I've never been to this place. I don't know the guy. I don't know the pastor. I've never been to this church. But apparently, this guy has connections to one of the victims that were in the documentary. So she was in Let Us Pray, and she talked about her abuse. And this guy named Phil Hudson, or Pastor Phil Hudson, now like I'm losing major respect. Like I still like had so much, I guess, love and respect for my pastors and my youth leaders when I left, because like I didn't realize that they were like a part of anything. I didn't realize, because at the time I thought I was the only one abused. So I had no idea that they knew stuff. I had no idea like secretly they knew about my situation and like treated me like I was an affair. So that was mind-blowing. I found that out years later. It's almost like on my journey of like pastors and things and churches, my individual experience is like I'm still in the baby versions of realizing that a lot of the men I looked up to and trusted are part of the problem. So I feel you, like if you're just getting out of IFB and you're just finding out like all these bad things, it's going to take a little while for your brain to process. just like it does when you realize your own parent is abusive or your own spouse is abusing you, and you're just like waking up to the fact that that's happening. It's very difficult. So like, don't feel bad if it takes you a little while to realize like, what, they were like part of the problem the whole time, because it's literally like, that's why we call it like blind eyes, because your eyes are blind to a lot of this stuff until you were like awakened. And then you finally realize like, what the heck, they're part of this problem. And this pastor beautifully puts it in a sermon of like what the problem is. Like, why is he a problem? Why are a lot of the pastors, I guess, like perpetuating all the bad things, and why are they making it so hard for victims to come forward? Okay, so this guy and then some others have like just given us a perfect example. So thank you, Mr. Phil. So he, I guess, tells his church members that the girl that was abused was in the same like dorm as this pastor's daughter, okay, and says like, oh, well, she was bragging that she was having an affair with her youth teacher or whatever he is. I'm probably going to get like the dates mixed up, so I apologize, but my brain's just like on fire of like how he handled this. So basically blamed her for like bragging about it, and then on the documentary he's like, she's crying, I don't believe it, we're like, I don't believe it, and like, don't let her cries fool you and stuff like that. Like, just very, very disrespectful. Like, dude. And then he has the audacity to say there was only 3 victims on the like documentary. He was like, yeah, there's other girl from Gaylord, and there was only 3. And I was like, dude, there was just 3 like main characters, if you will, but there was like 50 victims that were filmed for that documentary. They just had to slice it and dice it up to be able to put it on the documentary. So like, the fact that he just minimized it to just, oh, there was only 3. That was very annoying. And then to call it, just to say that this girl's lying about her abuse because his daughter has some hearsay about a rumor way back then as they were in college or whatever, and she was like the dorm supervisor. Yeah. So basically takes hearsay, discredits her story, makes her look bad, and then talks about Ruthie, which is the one that I grew up with, and we went to the same school and church and have abusers in the same place. Okay, and then Larissa has the same abuser as Ruthie, and they were in the documentary as well. So he brings up Ruthie and says like, oh, well, you know, her stuff happened at 12, and then why at 14 or 15 is she going back? Like, did her pastor force her to get on that plane? Did her parents, where were her parents? Did her parents force her to get on that plane? So why did she go all the way to Washington? And like, just the mind-blowing view of how he's spinning it. It's beyond hurtful, for one thing, because that's how all of us felt when we first come out. And I don't mean to like say come out like, oh, we're coming out, but when we first bring our story of abuse to light, it is very, very hard to do. It is not something that they're like, woohoo, we're here and we got a story and we can't wait to tell people. Like, no, for one thing, almost all of us think it only happened to us. Almost all of us think we're completely alone because we don't hear about it happening. When you grow up in a very like secluded small church, and even, I don't care how big Hammond is, blah, 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 whatever the numbers. It doesn't matter how big your church numbers are. It matters that you're in this like bubble of protection in not a good way. Like, our parents thought it was good. Our parents thought the protection from the world was really good. And I admire their efforts for trying to keep us from drugs, from alcohol, from, you know, being too like, I don't know, promiscuous. Like, they were trying to save us from the right things, but like the church takes it too far to where we don't know what the real world is like, and we don't know that, hey, there are other assault victims. And I'll try to be careful with which words I use, but like, hopefully you'll get the gist of what I'm talking about. So there's other victims in the world besides us, but we think we're alone because we're in this environment that says like, we don't talk about the S word, S-E-X, like we don't talk about that. We, you know, don't talk about any, basically we're not supposed to talk about like anything inappropriate. Even with our parents are like, it's like awkward, like everything's so like hush hush, like you're just like more prim and proper and you don't talk about things. So if all of us think we're alone, of course, coming forward with this information is extremely hard. So just the way that this pastor is going about telling like our story from his perspective, it's awful. And it's very like, I mean, obviously he wasn't talking about me, but like I take it personally because like I was part of it and like those are my friends. And yes, some of them are new friends, but still like I feel like, okay, you know, we're together in this because most of us feel similar, as in like we couldn't tell anyone. We didn't know how to get out of it. We thought we were the only ones. And it's not something that we could shout from the rooftops at the time. We didn't know we could get help. And some of us did try, but were either shut down or made to feel guilty, or like poor Ruthie, she didn't only just get like this Mr. Phil Hudson's opinion and like shaming her for like, well, why did you go there? Why did you go to that Washington place? No one forced you, and it's basically your fault for getting R-worded all the way far away from your mom. And I don't know where I was going with that. I'm gonna give you it's very heartbreaking because his perspective and like the way he talks. So please go watch the video. Okay, we have a clip of it on Blind Eye Movement page. And it just starts off with Beware Union Baptist Temple in Union, Missouri. And then Pastor Phil Hudson. That's the description on the top. And then other people have it posted on their pages. And I think Ruthie put the actual link to the full sermon, which you should definitely watch, just to see how pastors treat the victims, because he does just paint a beautiful picture of like how we are actually treated, and he does it out loud and recorded, like he knows and says, yeah, it's gonna go all over the internet. Yeah, it sure is, and we're all gonna be very, very PO'd, if you will, because this is not a good response. It is not. So he tries to say some things like to try to be on our side and be like, abuse is bad, and you know, people should go to the cops, and I've called the cops on people, and blah blah blah. But like, you don't blame you don't blame the victims for making the choices they made to get themselves hurt and abused. Because like I've had people say that to me too, like, well, you know, well, what were you wearing, and maybe you were too sexual. Or my abuser's wife called me a whore, and I've probably told that story 1,000 times because it meant something to me. Like, it cut deep, because I was like, wait, what? Why am I the whore? I don't understand. And I do not like that word, so I apologize for using it, but it's a part of my story. And for us to all feel like that, and for my pastor, Pastor John M. Jenkins, whom I idolized like majorly, especially because like dads were in and out of my life, and I couldn't always look up to them. No offense, you guys tried. But like, I didn't have that great of a perspective on men, and so the men in my life that I thought were amazing, it was very disheartening to know what they thought of me. Like, they called my situation an affair, and I'm like, what? Like, I was a willing participant in what happened to me. I was like, I don't think you understand. Every time I was listening to you preach and you were talking about sins and you know, not being pure and not getting to marry someone as a virgin, like, I was shattered. I every Sunday I'm like bawling my eyes out because I don't know why this is happening to me, and I'm crying, begging my perpetrator to stop doing what he's doing, because I have to carry that guilt, because I feel disgusting, because I feel nauseous every day, and I complain to my friends like, I feel sick, I'm shaky, I don't know why I'm nauseous, and I just like, I always felt sick to my stomach. And it was like, when, I don't know, it's just very disheartening. Like, I just can't. It's just very, very gross the way they treat victims. If a teacher or a pastor, or just any grown-up for that matter, is abusing a child, a minor, and to me, I don't even care if they're 18 or 19. Okay, they're still a teen. And when they're abusing the privileges and the abuse of power, it's not okay. It's not an affair, and it's not up to us to stop them. It wouldn't matter if I said no. I tried. And even my own perpetrator, when the first time that he did something like all the way with me, he basically blamed me right then and there. And he was just like, well, why didn't you tell me to stop? Or why didn't you tell me no? Like, whatever stupid words he used, I'll have to think about like what he actually said. But I know he said something to the effect that instantly put it on me. Instantly put the blame on the teenager, on the student, on the, whatever you want to call it, follower, or whatever, the sheep of the pastor's pasture. Because my perpetrator was a teacher and a pastor and a bus driver and like a Bible teacher and everything. Like he had like all the roles of authority and an ex-Marine. So like very like in my mind, like high up on the totem pole of authority. And to have it put all on me as the kid, I was like, what? Okay, like I don't know why did I have to say to tell you, like I don't understand why I had to tell you hey, no, not okay. I don't want it. Thank you. Keep your penis in your pants. Like, I don't know. Like, why was that my responsibility? I don't know. Just, so beyond frustrating. So this dude, Mr. Hudson, really did a terrible job at his first sermon since the documentary came out. I mean, I'm assuming it's his first one. Whatever. He could have done a Wednesday night special like the other guy was talking about. Someone from Hammond was preaching also, which I won't get into his right now. Because that's a little differently. He's talking about a protest that's coming up. So this dude also goes through, which I'm so sorry for his congregation. His sermon was flipping over 2 hours long. Like they had singing that was really bad. No offense, you tried. It was just like the microphones were really bad. I'm sorry, but like if you're gonna do something online, like fix your microphones. But that's just like side note. And he goes through and he was so good at looking up statistics, y'all. Like, so good at it. So he looked up statistics to tons and tons of other places that were more dangerous than his church. Y'all, he was acting like his church was the untouchable, safest place for any child in the whole entire world because he didn't think any abuse has ever happened in his church, which... Lord, like, please, if you've ever been abused in this church, please say it out loud and please, like, say it in the comments. Let that guy know that actually you were abused. And if there was any ever cover-ups in that church, please say it out loud because this man looks like he is untouchable and he listed all these statistics to every single other place that has had abuse in it, like Catholics, Boy Scouts. And he even blamed parents. He was like, parents, most of this abuse is happening in your own homes, and like, you know, where are the parents? And go to your parents first, like if there's abuse, and not to me, like go to your parents first or go to the cops first or whatever. Like it's not basically like why are you mad at me about it? Like it ain't me. And I get that. Like a lot of abuse doesn't happen like directly under the pastor's nose. It doesn't happen like directly in front of his eyeballs. Sometimes they don't know for a little bit. Sometimes they find out through rumors, or sometimes they found out about abuse from different ways, whatever. And it's true, a lot of abuse happens off the church property and off the school property for very good reason, I'm sure. Just like my abuser wanted me to leave with him once I turned 18. So yeah, I've had people be like, well, why did you go to West Virginia? My perpetrator's lawyer brought that up in court. Like, well, she, you know, decided she was a full-grown lady. She didn't have to go to West Virginia, so that doesn't matter, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, but you don't understand, like, when you're in an abusive situation, you're, like, locked in. And I was locked in hardcore, which I will give you all those deets later, and I can talk about that and how, like, all of that went and, like, why it was so hard for me to get out, because that's a whole nother, like, 10 videos. But... all that to say, his tactic of listing all the other bad places in the world and how his church is the safest, it just seemed very wrong. It just seemed very much like the spoiled kid that like says stupid stuff like, well, I wouldn't do that. Like, look at all what she's doing. Look at what he's doing. Look at what she's doing. At least I'm not that bad. At least I'm not that bad. At least I'm not that bad. And trying to diminish like the numbers. And he was saying like things that weren't even like factual, because he was like, the documentary said they found 160 something victims. And he's like, well, that makes me want to go there more. I say, sign me up for the IFB because they've only had 160 people in the last 60 years or some stupid like, bruh. That ain't it. That, like, you did not check the statistics good enough. And then I thought, you know what? If the statistics are way lower in IFB circles, it's because everyone is scared out of their minds to ever come forward. And if they do come forward, it's not reported to police. So the police and the government would not have those statistics because everyone is so scared. Women are so scared to come forward because of the fallout of family, friends, everything. The scarlet letter, the horror names, the like, you can't dress this way now, and you can't be trusted around husbands anymore because you got raped, you know, and like, let alone men. Men definitely can't come forward in this environment. They already get picked on for being like too feminine or not manly enough or whatever. Like, there's such toxic things happening that don't always get preached on the pulpit, but some of the things are terribly preached from the pulpit. And I was blown away at the documentary because I haven't been in an IFB church in a while, and just remembering like how toxic the things like they preach are, like smashing the TV, smash your music, you know, and scream and tell your wife to shut up. Like, wow. Like, I was like, oh my God, I forgot. And when you're not allowed to be in the real world because you're in an IFB circle, you don't know what all is out there. So it's the same, like when they're excluding all the IFBers from the real world, they're excluding all of the real world to see what goes on in IFB. So it's very plausible, it's very possible that neither side knows what each other is doing because it's so closed off. Only IFBers can be friends with IFBers, so they all think alike, they all talk alike, they all dress alike, they all abuse alike, right? And I can't say they all abuse because they don't. Like, my parents were nothing like, you know, like Amanda's parents, okay? Amanda's parents was a very extreme case, and not every single IFB parent is like Amanda's story. And she's the one that was a part of the girls' home. And her parents did absolutely horrible things, and I feel horrible. And hers was the hardest for me to watch. Like, because I'm a mom, and like, that's so hard for me to watch, that little kids could be beat up and tortured and starved and like locked in a room for days. Like, that is so hard for me. So like I said, like, we're all a part of, you know, Blind Eye Movement. We're all a part of the documentary, but we all are also are individuals, and we have individual perspectives on things, right? So I have no idea what it's like to be her. I have no idea what it's like to have parents like that, because mine weren't like that. Okay. They were a little on the edge of different random IFB stuff, but not like that. So I get that not every single person in an IFB church is abusive. I wasn't abusive. Like, when I was in an IFB circle, like, I was just trying to do what God wanted me to do. I was trying to be like on the front row and be a good little girl and stuff. Like, just because you were in there doesn't mean you were bad. So if you are in there and you are not one of the bad ones, then stand up and reject anyone that is. And if you want to be a part of a good Baptist church, then be a part of it, but don't be blinded. Don't be blinded because the ones that did get hurt and that did get abused, we're not evil. We're not sinning because we're calling people out. We're not trying to go against God and trying to make people not go to heaven because we want the abuse to stop. The abuse was hell. The abuse was not okay. And Mr. Hudson, keep looking because I can't remember your name. Ugh. I don't really want to remember your name, honestly. Like, you really didn't do yourself any favors. I'm sorry, but no, we do not want to run to IFB churches because of pastors like you. So I really hope that anyone that was abused at your church, anyone that got their abuse covered up, I hope they come forward and I hope they let you know about it, so that way you can knock yourself down a little peg of your pride, because that's what I saw. I saw pride, and I saw an unwillingness to see what IFB churches do, and I saw disgusting victim shaming. That's what I saw. So that's my opinion, just mine. That's my thoughts alone, and if you share my thoughts, cool. If you don't, that's okay. You can have your own mind, your own thoughts. You feel however you want to feel. But yeah, I am just here to tell it like it is. Okay, bye.
So one of the girls that cried, she cried on the show. Oh, big crocodile tears. They didn't mean anything to me. And I know this was going to get around on the internet. I'm telling you, it did. I'm going to tell you why. Because my daughter was her dorm supervisor.
And what's your point?
Uh-huh. Who told me that she bragged about the fact that she was having an affair with one of the assistant pastors who actually was a school teacher. Oh, wait a minute here. You're either proud of it or you're ashamed of it. It can't be both of them, amen? Yeah, anyway.
As a victim of rape, you gross me out.
Mm-hmm. Now listen to this. I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm talking about here. One of the girls from Gaylord.
I don't think you do know what you're talking about.
There's only 3. One of the girls from Gaylord, Michigan. She said she was abused when she was 12 and 13. Then Michigan would not prosecute because they said they didn't have enough evidence.
Watch it again. That's not what Ruthie said at all.
So anyway, so the guy quits and he moves all the way out to the other side of the country, Washington State. Okay? About 2 or 3 years later now, she is now 15 years of age. So she gets a call from her alleged abuser and says, my wife is about ready to have another baby. Would you come on out and babysit? My question is, why did you go out? Why did you go out? Did the pastor force you to get on that airplane? I don't think so. Or maybe was it your mom or dad that forced you to get on the airplane? Or maybe the allegations were looked into and there was no evidence of it. Everybody tells the story in their best light. You know it's the truth because you do as well. Okay? I'm not saying she's telling a falsehood. I'm just saying she's not telling all the truth. That's very possible. Are you with me? I'm almost done. So,